Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz with Mildred, here with fabulous concert programs in the George Lloyd Fourth Symphony. Mildred wants to play fetch, as usual, don't you, dear? I know you do. So let me put you down, and we'll play fetch, and you'll be in great shape. There you go. That's a good girl. Ready? Ready? Go! Amazing. Just amazing. She thinks she's a dog. She plays fetch constantly. Hello, Finster, and Finster's here too. We've got both of them. We're in business. Anyway, do you want to come say hello? No, she doesn't. She wants to go attack Mildred. They ambush each other while they're playing. It's a whole thing they do. Anyway, we're here with number 4 in our fabulous concert program's George Lloyd Symphony cycle. Now, George Lloyd's Fourth Symphony is really a critical work in his output because it occurs on the other side of the Second World War. The first 3 symphonies were all earlier, and they were created more or less ancillary to what he considered to be his major calling, which was as a composer of opera. But during the Second World War, he was on a destroyer or some sort of ship in the Arctic, and he was torpedoed. Not him personally, the ship was torpedoed, and he quite nearly died. The torpedo, busted through the ship, and he was submerged for a considerable amount of time in the ship's oil tanks. He was down below wherever he was, and he quite nearly lost his life. And he was nursed back to health by his wife, who was Swiss, and he, after the war, retired to Switzerland with her, where he very, very slowly regained his physical and mental capabilities and began composing again. But from that point, on the other side of the war, he was no longer going to be a major force in the world of opera, of English opera, because his style in the post-war period was far too conservative for people to pay much attention to. Opera was far too expensive to deal with at the time, and he was in Switzerland. He wasn't in the UK. And so his whole life basically changed. And as a result of his experience during the war, he created his Fourth Symphony. It's a very optimistic symphony. There's nothing about it that would let you know what he'd gone through in the war, although it does have quite a militant finale, which I'm going to play you a sample of shortly. But whereas the first 3 symphonies were somewhat neoclassical, short, compact works that you could argue were not, destined to be major statements, the fourth was. And with the Fourth Symphony, George Lloyd, the symphonist, was born. I mean, the Fourth Symphony lasts nearly an hour. It's in 4 big movements. It was subtitled The Arctic, I think, actually, although at least it had some sort of, subtext there. The second movement particularly was supposed to represent the ship at night cruising along quietly in the desolate Arctic wasteland. And the third movement, the Scherzo, is just a delicious ballet scene. I mean, that's what it is. It's as happy as can be. And the finale is a march of triumph, really along the lines of what we hear in Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony, for example. Only it's pure Lloyd. I mean, it's that sort of English Salvation Army tune kind of finale. And it was the kind of thing that would absolutely appall the post-war avant-garde, but would delight audiences because it's just a real feel-good piece. I mean, perhaps it reflects Lloyd's happiness in being able to compose again, his renewal of energy and life and vigor. He was not one to dwell on, the blows that he sustained at his, either, from a career point of view or in his life. He was a positive guy on the whole. And this is a positive symphony and an incredibly beautiful one, full of wonderful tunes and those wonderfully clean, clear orchestral colors that he learnt from Berlioz and that kind of crew. It's great stuff. Absolutely great stuff. So we have the, the composer conducting the Albany Symphony. And this was recorded once before, by the way, by Edward Downes. I think with the Philharmonia or one of those things. It's on Lyrita, and it's a very, very good performance as well. But, this has the composer's imprimatur. So how do we do a program? Well, this is a big, long symphony, and so it has to be all by itself on the second half of the program. There's no question about it. It's a crowd pleaser. It's rousing and fun. And, oh, what the hell? Let's listen to the big tune as it comes back at the very end of the finale. See what I mean? Now, there are two ways you can respond to that. It's just so unabashedly, enjoyably, march-like, tuneful what it is that you can accept it and enjoy it and love it. Or you can say, oh my God, how could someone be writing that in like the 1950s or 40s and 50s? Either way, it depends on what your aesthetic sensibility is. I tend to accept things as they come and feel that there's only good music and bad music, and I'm not going to get pissed because he had a certain style that he knew exactly how to use in the most effective possible way. And it's a valid style. It's an emotionally affecting style, and an aesthetically valid, decent, wonderful, personal style. That's how I feel about it. You may disagree, but what are we going to do on the first half of the program? Well, I think it should just be a feel-good program, an enjoyable program, one that we could all just sit back and have some fun with. I begin with Sibelius, his suite from King Christian II. This is one of his biggest and most powerful pieces of incidental music, and it never gets performed. Never, ever, ever. I don't understand it. It's gorgeous. Gorgeous. Absolutely. Oh, my God, it's beautiful and exciting. And the ending is really thrilling. My gosh, why doesn't it get played? I don't know. But when that big tune comes in, da, 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 oh my God, it's to die for. And it's almost, similar to the Lloyd in the sense that it's sort of a post-Tchaikovsky-Tchaikovskyan concept. Let's put it that way. If you want to put it that way, but it's just a wonderful work. Go listen to it. You're going to love it. And then as the concerto, because we must have a concerto, how about Bartók's Third? It's his easiest piano concerto to listen to, the easiest one to take in terms of, catchy tunes and lyrical melodies and all that. I actually think the other two are rather more exciting, but there's a lot of excitement in this program, and it's just a terrific piece that doesn't get played enough. Again, most people, when they do a Bartók piano concerto, will do number 2, because that's the one that's the most sophisticated in terms of its structure and its importance in 20th century music and all that blah, 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 blah. So it has as much in common with Lloyd to the extent that people tend to regard Bartók's last works as a somewhat of a regression to a more traditional style, because that's he wanted these pieces to get performed, and his wife was going to be playing them, and he knew that he was dying, and so he wrote these works to try and actually have a little bit of popular success. And there's nothing wrong with that, because when you're as fine a craftsman as Bartók, and capable of writing, as a musical genius in both more difficult and simpler idioms, doesn't matter which one you choose. Actually, the last few bars of this concerto had to be completed by other hands. I think Tibor Surly, or one of those people, finished the last couple bars because he died before he'd orchestrated the last bit. But it's all him. It's all his stuff, and it's a beautiful, beautiful work that people should listen to more frequently, I think. I don't see it very often. I see the second programmed fairly regularly, but the third, not so much. So we have 3 works, none of which get as much play as they really ought to, but all 3 of which are absolutely gorgeous. They are masterpieces, make no bones about it. So give these a shot, and I think you'll have a wonderful, wonderful evening of listening if you decide to play this at home as a program. Because as I've always said in this series, God knows you will never hear them done live, at least in these programs, which is a pity because I really think they'd be marvelous. But that's just me, and I'm not in charge. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.